seals are very social animals within their species, and so it's really important for them to have other harbor seals to interact with. Tomato and Ravioli have been pen mates for some time, and they get along absolutely wonderfully. They never fight. They compete for food. Occasionally you'll see them take food right out of the other one's mouth, and then the other one's right back on it trying to get it back. It's been an incredible experience being able to interact with an animal because as a rescue and release facility, we do not interact with the animals. I'm glad to see that they're going to Moody Gardens together because they have really seemed to develop a deep bond.
So we are in holding room 1, which is one of our back areas behind the scenes of our North Pacific exhibit. So this is their quarantine room right now. So quarantine is just a 30-day or so period where we make sure that these animals are healthy and pretty adjusted before we start their process onto the exhibit and introducing them to the animals that already live here. So since we placed them into the holding room, everything has pretty much been normal, what we would expect from after an animal transportation. So even some of our animals that were born at a zoo or another facility that moved here behave pretty much the same way that Tomato and Ravioli have been. They're very interested in everything going on in the holding room right now. They're the same way when it's just us, our trainers. And they're not super interested in food yet, but that's very normal for them, especially animals coming from a rehab center where their goal is to fatten them up, get them healthy, and release them back out into the ocean. And we are offering them fish every single day, multiple times a day, so they're not going hungry for sure, but they are a little bit extra on there to keep them warm.
We are seeing some of the same behaviors here at the aquarium that we did see at the Stranding Center. You know, they have been hanging out together and living together for many months. So they are definitely doing the same thing here. We do see that they are going together, whether it's on land or in the water. They're definitely checking everything out as a team. While they do like to hang out together, we have noticed that they do have very different personalities. Ravioli there, the female, who is darker in color, is much more people-oriented. She's very curious and inquisitive, and she is the one that oftentimes will come up to us first if she wants to see what's going on. She wants to make sure she isn't missing anything. Tomato, the male, the lighter colored harbor seal here, is a little bit more standoffish, a little bit more skittish and sort of nervous. He's definitely getting braver than when he first got here.
So both of them have pretty unique stories that are unfortunately actually common in the stranding world. The Ravioli, she was actually picked up when she was just a couple days old, so she was still very, very young and very reliant on her mother. But even at just a couple days old, the mothers will leave the pups on the beach, go out and eat, and then come back to them. So unfortunately, one of the tourists in Crescent City wasn't aware of this fact, so when she was all by herself, they picked her up and took her home and then brought her to the center. So that's a case that we call just human intervention. While she was at the center, though, she did get pretty sick, and she had some medical issues that caused her to kind of behave the way she does. She has little bits of tremors and some sort of mobility issues, so that's something that we're going to work on here behind the scenes so that when she comes out onto the exhibit, she'll be much more comfortable moving around. Tomato, on the other hand, was found at a few months old, so he was probably 3 or 4 months old already. He was found with several injuries all over his face and back, probably a dog attack. So when there are dogs on the beaches that aren't on leashes or aren't being watched by their owners, sometimes they'll attack the small harbor seals. So he actually had a couple injuries. One of them affected the eyesight in his right eye, and because of that loss of vision and overall just trauma, he was deemed non-releasable as well. Here at Moody Gardens, we have an animal husbandry program involving positive reinforcement training and enrichment. So the training is something that we'll work up to with them once they get more comfortable interacting with us and more comfortable eating from us. But enrichment is another thing that we can do for them to keep their day exciting and different from the day before. So living in the wild, they have to think about predators, they have to think about where their food's gonna come from next, they have to think about all sorts of things that they don't necessarily have to worry about here at Moody Gardens. There's no predators, they get plenty of food, so we wanna do other things to keep them mentally and physically healthy.
So we do offer enrichment to our animals here, sort of change up their environment on a daily basis. It's not something they got a lot of at the Stranding Center, but they did get a little bit. One thing that they were used to out there was a rope that these guys would play with, that the staff would use. So we sort of started with that. It was something familiar to them and that we knew they enjoyed. And then we'll sort of start smaller things like this felt star here or the hula hoop that you see today. These are new items today for them to sort of check out. As you can see, they're pretty curious, which is good. They're wanting to see what's going on around them. So once these two are done with their initial quarantine period, we will sort of slowly work through some introductions before moving them out to the main exhibit. So it does take a little bit of time. But normally what we will do for introductions is remove the other animals from the exhibit the first time that they're getting a chance to go out and explore that exhibit, so that they're able to do that on their own, sort of together, and learn everything. But the first thing we'll do is put up what we call a howdy gate. And that is a gate that goes, and the transfer door that goes, separates this holding room to the main exhibit. And that way, Tomato and Ravioli are able to see the other animals that we have here, and vice versa. So everybody's able to sort of see and hear each other, but not be able to physically touch each other or reach each other. And then once we've done that and seen some very positive interactions, we'll sort of slowly, over time, remove that howdy gate out of the way and do some smaller introductions before we're able to work up to leaving everyone on exhibit together. So Ravioli and Tomato here will actually be joining Porter, another harbor seal that was a rescued animal, as well as Squirt, who's our female sea lion, who's also a rescue animal. Hi. So very similar to Ravioli here, Porter was just a couple of days old when he stranded and was able to be rehabilitated in Maine. So their story is very similar, both very small animals that could not be released to the wild. Squirt, our female sea lion, was actually born blind, and they believe that when she tried to finish up nursing from mom and start to catch fish on her own, she couldn't see them. So she also couldn't survive in the wild. So definitely some similarities, but everybody does have a unique story. Oh, I think it's definitely an important part of our mission here to help animals in wild places. You know, we are very fortunate that so many animals are able to have a good, safe home here that they definitely didn't have outside before they were here. So it's definitely a testament to Moody Gardens and the willingness of them to give these animals a better place.